recent history between these teams. It was the Nations League final last year. They met in the Euros in the quarterfinals 3 years ago in Euro 2020/21. Spain came out victorious on both occasions. But yeah, two teams that are packed in midfield. It's going to be a really, really good game in Berlin. I'm a little bit worried because of those things that I said, that perhaps if it's a draw, they're both kind of accept it. But I'm excited to see, the things that LME touched on earlier about this Spain side. This is a Spain side which is a little bit different to previous Spain sides because, and Modric and speaking to Croatia players and coach today touched on it. It's a Spain side that can be more direct, that does have width, that does have perhaps things that, that Spain side that dominated European and world football between 2008 and 2012 didn't have that sort of versatility. But those guys are so young. I mean, Lamine Yamal is 16 years old. He's going to become the youngest player to ever play in the finals tomorrow. So you don't want to be putting too much weight on his shoulders. But, in midfield, you've got Rodri, you've got Pedri, who looks to have, fingers crossed, shaken off his injury problems for now. He was the young player of the tournament 3 years ago. So, yeah, I agree with LME. I think Spain, perhaps they just lack a little bit of quality in the final third to score goals when it really matters, when we get to perhaps the semi-final sort of stage. But I think they're being sold a little bit short. And yeah, Croatia, I mean, what a job they've done in recent World Cups. But like Modric said, they've never done that well in recent Euros. And that's something they want to change this year.
LME, do you think this could be a bit of a cagey affair? How do you make the actual matchup on the field, these two teams?
Well, the thing about Croatia is that it almost doesn't matter when it comes to form because they are just so resilient in every single tournament. And when you're led by somebody like Luka Modric, and he's not the only one, then you know what you're getting. And Sam's right. They want to do a little bit better in the European Championships. So they're going to prove to be, once again, a very resilient side. But I remain high on Spain. I think another big question mark, aside from at the back, because there's a lot of changes defensively for Spain. But aside from that is, how is Rodri going to partner up? Because obviously Gavi's absence is big. Mikel Merino, such a good player for Real Sociedad. He could be an answer as well. There's a lot of diversified ideas that Luis de la Fuente can do for Spain, and that's what I'm excited about. And Sam touched upon about the other part, which is, I think here's what happens to Spain usually. We saw it at the World Cup. We've seen it in recent tournaments as well. At the beginning of tournaments, they feel very comfortable in control, possession-based, because almost usually their opponents know what they're getting. But once the tournament keeps going, then they start figuring out Spain, hence Morocco at the World Cup. This isn't the same Spain. And I think that they're going to do the other way around. They're going to figure themselves out even more as the game develops. And Lamine Yamal, who Sam said, obviously, at 16, wow, carrying that weight on his shoulders, I don't think it bothers him one bit. This kid is ready to take everything on, and it's amazing. And on the other side, you have Nico Williams. And I think Alvaro Morata now is going to feel a little bit lighter because he has so much partnership going forward. I'm very excited to see what Spain can do.
On that note, Sam, you're based in Spain, and LME was kind of talking about the pressure that Morata may be alleviated by. Obviously, Yamal's season was crazy for a kid that young, and he's bedded in at this team. Do you feel the same way? Does this team have a different vibe about it? From the populace in Spain, is there a different vibe about this team?
I think the first thing with this team is they're a little bit sort of freed from the recent expectations, obviously, because they had so much success. And for many years afterwards, there were parts of that team, they gradually disappeared. Xavi, Iniesta, Sergio Busquets, probably the last one, Sergio Ramos as well. There was always that expectation that this was, still part of the golden generation. There is now a feeling that this is a new team, a clean break. And that sort of expectation's a little bit off their shoulders. They're also young players, like you say, Lamine Yamal, who doesn't have really he's still playing. I mean, I don't know if he'll catch up with him at some point. I don't think I've seen a 16-year-old sort of play with. I mean, Rooney would have been older, wouldn't he, in Euro 2004? But that sort of confidence and like LME says, just seems so unaffected by the pressure. I mean, Luis de la Fuente, the Spain coach, was talking about that today. He said he's got a talent that only the chosen ones have, that he's been touched by sort of like he's got like a gift from God. And then he sort of said, but we need to keep his feet on the ground. And I'm like, I'm not sure you sort of saying all this stuff will help keep someone with their feet on the ground. So yeah, there is that different expectation in Spain where, they're not expected to go and win the tournament, even though there is sort of an underlying belief that, on their day they can beat anyone, which is what Rodri said. What was most interesting perhaps about this game was a little bit of a debate with De La Fuente, a little bit of a back and forth about the Spanish identity and this idea that sort of Croatia have sort of a more sort of galvanizing unity feel to the squad, and Spain are perhaps lacking that. And De La Fuente kind of agreed. He kind of agreed that Croatia are really good at sort of harnessing that sort of, that national spirit, that sort of, maybe it helps because it's such a small country and sort of all pulling together and that solidarity. And he said, we'll see how the tournament progresses, but perhaps it's a little bit true that Spain miss a little bit of that. I don't know how much that sort of would come across in the tournament. And obviously you touched on Morata there. He also spoke about this week about playing in Spain. He would almost feel better playing outside of Spain because he feels sort of more respected and stuff. So yeah, there's always little sort of issues like that with Spain. But yeah, there's a freedom about them a little bit this year, I think, because like I said, this is a new generation. There's so many youngsters and those sort of expectations. While if they crash out in the group stage or even the last 16, there's going to be sort of an inquisition into what went wrong. But it's not the expectations, that weight that they've had with the past years.